Hello everybody and welcome to this general playthrough for Rookie Division full 18 of the WM Phoenix Open 18-hole Cup Waterfield Sands and Wiseacre Ranch edition. Before we have a look at all the videos here in this playthrough, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, also subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. For those of you looking to improve your game even more, scan the QR code here on the screen or go directly to patreon.com/golfclashtommy. Check out all our premium guides, sign up to the one that suits you the best and get started. On the right hand side here on the screen, you do have the club distance information, elevation information, also what ball and club type I do think would be best to play with. If you don't want to follow that, then you don't have to, but I do always have a plan with it. Let's go to hole number 1. Hole number 1, which is with the tournament win for the qualifying round. I'm using a power 3 ball and the driver that gives me the most power possible, because now we're gonna utilize the tailwind and we're going to get ourselves as close to the green possible. Adjust max plus a 10 power 3. I'm not pushing up to max here because it's not needed, so I rather than take a slightly slower needle with my with max OP. 2 left spin, 4.5 bar top spin, and we're getting the ball down past the 2 bunkers, and now we have an open shot towards the pin for an eagle. Obviously, if you do have headwind or crosswind further down in the tournament, then you will have to lay up shorter, and then it's going to be a short iron towards the pin. On the second shot, it's going to be a wedge. Unfortunately, we can't really play with a short iron here. So what you're going to have to do is that you're going to have to estimate your club distance. If you do have a wedge with a good ball guideline, that's most definitely an advantage for you. Because having a crappy ball guideline here is going to have you to make a big guess on where you're going to have to position yourself. Now, I'm playing this one max plus 20. So I would strongly recommend that if you do have a distance that is close to max line before the pin starts, plus 20 definitely work, but I'm not ruling out that you might need some tweaks for that. When it comes to the short iron, if you're going to have to lay up, then you play 10% elevation instead. Hole number 2. I'm no fan on bouncing on the fairway, so I'm gonna go for a rough bump. It may look aggressive, but there is room to hit great left and also great right. I'm gonna use a 3 right spin, I'm gonna use 1 back spin and get the ball guideline to hole. I use the left side rough every time I do have a wind coming left to right, because otherwise I'm going to have to play very close to the rough line if using the rough bump on the right. But if it would be a straight wind, or if it would be a wind coming right to left, I would be using the rough bump on the right instead. Now, for the adjustment, I'm playing 1 to 1 minus 0.4. So here I'm adjusting 1.8 rings with my sniper level 7. Send to the ball and hit perfect, and you will see yourself having a very good chance of getting a drop here on hole number 2. Bounce into the rough, and we're going dead nuts for an hole in one. The drive, we're going to play on the right side, and the reason for that is that I want to position ourselves for a rough bump on the second shot. 4.5 bar top spin, 1 left spin, ball guideline to go straight down the fairway. Adjustment is max plus 10, and then I will be applying 3 rings of overpower, because I do want to push the ball further down than what it would otherwise would be if I would be just be using the overpower I adjust into. So bounce on the fairway. Now we're getting very close to the rough line, or at least closer than what I want. So maybe move a little bit more left, but it's in the end it's safe at 370 yards. Second shot on hole number 3. I'm gonna go for a rough bump. I do believe that is the best way to go for a drop here. Unfortunately, I make a mess of the adjustment and I'm adjusting too little. I'm still safe though, in the sense of that I'm getting the ball close, but it's not really what I want to. I expect myself to do a little bit better than what I do here on the screen. I'm adjusting 2.2 rings. which is a little bit too little. We should have adjusted like 2.5. Ball guideline through the hole as it is headwind, and the ball guideline will be compressed. Bounce into the rough, and it rolls up. You can see here that we need a little bit more adjustment, or we will be falling short like that. So hole 3 is a good chance in my opinion, but it's not gonna be a gimme. For hole number 1 of the Waterfield Sands, we're gonna play with the driver that gives us the most power possible, and this is going to be the extra mile. I'm playing with a katana ball, and I position myself to be at the very max line. If you do have a headwind, I do recommend to play with a power 3 ball in a tailwind, and a crosswind. A power 2 ball is just enough. A maximum distance with a 15% over adjustment, and I'm using the 4.5 bar topspin to get the ball as far down the fairway possible. Overpower will vary depending on what wind direction you do have off tee. Ball get down nicely on the fairway, and now we are focused and positioned for the second shot. So the second shot here, we're playing with our wood club, and here you can see I'm playing with the big dog, which is honestly not as smart. So the big dog, as you see in the info box, I'm actually gonna do this one live, and I'm gonna change this one to play with a sniper. And the reason the sniper will be better here is due to its ball guideline, because then we can attack the pin in a much better way. The big dog obviously gives you power, and it allows you to never struggle with that, and you can get yourself safely up there for a birdie. But on a par 4, we always want to have the best possible chance for a drop, and then the sniper is it's going to be massively better. This is one of the weirder par 4s, in the sense of, even if it looks like we're playing uphill, this is actually playing with a lot of elevation. So I recommend to play plus 20 and true club distance. So whatever position you are between minimum and maximum distance is what you're gonna use with a 20% over adjustment. Hole number 1, and this was. On hole number 2, we are going to go for a rough bump. The reason we're going for the rough bump is because that is the best and most consistent way to attack the pin. When we play from the front tee, we are in an angle that might not be as perfect as it would be from the second and third tee. Because from the second and third tee, we're using the back end of the green to roll up and then to fall back down. But here from front tee, we're actually attacking the pin directly. In a headwind or a direct crosswind, playing with a sniper from very close to midline, and then from in tailwinds, we're playing with a long iron, preferably the Goliath, even though it would be in lower level on many of your accounts. Then we play with the Goliath just because we do then have the 145 yards power, so we can reach up to a favorable spot at the end of the rough line there. Now, bouncing into the rough using minimum distance with a 30% elevation, using whatever backspin that is needed to get the ball guideline to hole, and the 2 right spin to remove myself as much as I can from the rough line on the right. Hole number 2, it's a tricky par 3, which all of the par 3s of the Waterfield Sands are, but this is definitely the one that I do believe we will see the most hole-in-ones on. For hole number 3, this is going to be a very difficult par 5 to do anything else than an eagle on. Or let's say like this, it's difficult to get an albatross. Getting a birdie is going to be very easy, I must say, because this is a long par 5, and as you can see here now, there isn't really much for us to do. We are going to try to be as far up on this first fairway, or we're going to try to use a lot of topspin and bounce over the rough and the sand there in the distance and get over to the final part of a fairway. If we do get to the final part of the fairway, then that's going to obviously be a major advantage in terms of getting to the green and locking the eagle, because once again, this is an eagle only par 5, even if you would be having a straight tailwind off tee. Maximum distance with a 10% over adjustment, and you can see that I'm playing this one in a controlled way over to the end of the fairway island. You can see as well that in the info box on the right hand side I do suggest a Berserker ball. That's a power 5 ball, and the reason I do suggest that is due to the second shot, to make that one easier. Sure, you can play with a Titan ball, a power 3 ball, and you can somewhat bounce over the rough and the sand like this, and also using some curl to the left to get close to green. However though, if you do have a power 5 ball, it will give you the possibility, especially in tailwind, to actually carry directly over the rough and the sand directly, and you do not have to mess around with by doing a technical shot like we're doing here now. But once again, if you do not have a Berserker ball, then fine, then you are gonna do what I'm doing in the video, but at least I wanted to explain why I'm adding the Berserker ball in the info box instead of leaving it out and just going with a Titan ball. When you do play with a Titan ball or any other ball that doesn't allow you to carry over, as already said, then we're going to have a wedge to pin, and this wedge is not going to be a gimme. It's still going to be a tough one. I do recommend that if you do play EB School version, it should be playing plus 20% elevation with whatever power ball you're using, so in this case a power 3 ball. But once again, a wedge from distance, especially with wedges with a very poor ball guideline, it's going to be very difficult to be accurate with. We will have a chance though, and with a perfect ball in this instance, it's going to be giving us a good chance to lock in the eagle, because once again, this is going to be eagle only. There will be like an insane amount of birdies compared to albatrosses here. I don't think I saw any albatross, or like I don't think I've seen an albatross in this hole more than maybe 1 or 2 times, and that has come from tour play. So hole number 3, very difficult. The eagle should be your focus. On hole number 4, the drive. If we do have a headwind, we are going to get ourselves up the fairway and to focus on getting a rough bump on the second shot. If I would be having a tailwind here, I would actually use my quarterback and bounce over to the fairway on the very left. This to give us a short iron from there, or just a wedge towards the pin. 4.5 bar topspin, 2 left spin. I'm aiming straight forward there and getting the ball to bounce and to bounce and to roll, and now we're going to have a long iron towards the pin. You don't have to play with a Titan here. I somewhat got rushed in the end. I would play with maximum a katana or something like that. A power 2 ball is what I'm trying to say on the drive, because there's no point spending any power 3 balls here, especially when we are not close to going into overpower. Second shot here, we're going to do a rough bump, and we're going to do that with our long iron, especially when we do have a headwind of tee where we won't reach as far as we would like to play with our short iron. Here, I would say the tricky part is to actually know, should I aim at the hole? Should I aim short of the hole? Should I aim through the hole with my long iron? Because it all depends on what type of ball guideline you have. The Goliath level 6 here is going to come in a little bit hot. I should have left it a little bit short because, again, I'm not having a fully developed ball guideline. And stuff like that is super important to have in mind when it comes to regular bounce-up shots and also rough bumps like this. You can see we come in fairly hot, and we are lucky that the pin stands there, or we wouldn't have dropped it. In the end, we're playing 5% elevation on the second shot, and true club distance. It's going to be close to minimum distance here if you're playing with a long iron. No matter what club you're playing with, no matter what ball you're playing with, this rough bump is a very good chance. Hole number 5. Here we are going to set up for doing a rough bump, and I know you might be tired of me talking about rough bumps all the time, but especially these par 3s here of the Wiseacre, the rough bumps is so superior, more or less any other route that can be played, because it somewhat allows us to minimize the wind effect after the first bounce. Adjustment 1-to-1 using 0.3 topspin, and looking at it in the end, we would need a couple of extra decimals to get this one to drop. But it comes in with a nice speed, we're hitting the rough in a nice way, so there is in the end no risk for great balls here, and we are giving ourselves a look for the hole-in-one. I mean, 0.2 more decimals would be making that one go in the hole, but I will take it, and it's not going to go in every time, but it's a good chance. On the drive here, when having a wind coming right to left, that's honestly the worst thing you can have, because that means that you do have a headwind towards the pin on the second shot, as the whole hole here is going straight up and then right. Adjust max plus 10 here of T. I'm using all the top spin that I can, and I'm also using the 2 bars of right spin. The goal here is to bounce over the rough and roll ourselves nicely down the fairway. The further down the fairway we are, the better it's going to be, and obviously the more right we can go, the better it's going to be too. So if you do have more topspin to use more topspin, allow yourself to push yourself more right, and have a much easier time to reach the green on the second shot. On the second shot on hole number 6, now we're just gonna play ourselves down towards the green, and here we do have a situation where we definitely can use the power 5 ball in our favor. So we're using all the right spin that we can, which is 2 bars, and using a little bit of backspin too. I'm moving myself way more left than what is needed really. You can go more bang on, but moving myself more left allow me to use the curl and get around the rough and give myself much more room for error. Now I hit a very bad grade right, and I end up for a wedge towards the pin, but that's still a very short and simple wedge to lock in the eagle. Hole 6 for me, regardless what wind direction you have, is to get ourselves an eagle and to be done with it. Take your game to the next level with our Ultimate Tournament Text Guide for Master Division for the WM Phoenix Open 18-hole Cup. Yes, during this 18-hole Cup, we do an Ultimate Tournament Text Guide for Master Division. For those playing other divisions, we do have our starter pack that will give you access to our general text guide, so you get some elevation information and just general information of how to play the different courses. Obviously, we have tour guides as well, so we have a platform that offers you premium guides for all the game modes. Free to play ball and paid balls to get access to when it comes to our guides, videos with voiceover, and obviously our very well-known Telegram support service as well. So scan the QR code here on the screen or use the link in the description down below, patreon.com/golfclashtommy to sign up. There isn't many par 3s that I do believe plays harder from the front tee than what it does from the second and the third tee, but hole number 4 of the Waterfield Sands is one of them in my opinion. And the reason for that is that when you do have lower level clubs, you can obviously, you can do this with higher level clubs as well, but you're deciding to go either above the bunkers and attack the pin like I'm doing here in the video, or you bounce before the bunkers. The problem with bouncing before the bunkers with lower level clubs is that you don't really have any ball guideline to follow, and you also have that downslope, which is causing a glitch roll many of the times with a long iron. And if you're going to avoid that downslope, you need to have a lot of topspin, and then you come in too hot. So my suggestion here is to use the Guardian and all its backspin and attack the pin like I'm doing once again, like in the video. I need to aim a little bit further back when I do have the backspin I have here on a low level Guardian, but for those of you that do have the max backspin, which you do have with the Guardian in a fairly intermediate level, and obviously all in the high levels as well, then the max backspin there will definitely be a perfect way of attacking the pin with a decent chance for success of the hole-in-one. For hole number 5, I will show you an aggressive route here, because if we're not going aggressive, there is, I would say, no chance at all to have a shot for an albatross. I will explain how to play conservative at the end of the video here. So I'm gonna use all but one topspin bar with the big topper. Have in mind that you can play with other club levels than just level 4, because it's the topspin that we're looking for, not really the power. Adjustment is max plus 20, and I'm aiming with the second bounce just above the rough line. If I would be having tailwind, I would be aiming a little bit lower into the rough to give myself room in terms of the extended ball guideline. In a crosswind, I would aim so I do have approximately half a range of distance from the rough to the fairway line. The goal is to bounce on the fairway into the rough and then stay on the fairway island. Once again, this is an aggressive drive which requires a lot of focus. But if you are getting there, then you can either with your long iron or with your wood club attack the pin for an outside chance of an albatross. I'm not going to sit here and say that this is going to drop all the time, but like quite the opposite. This is going to drop very rarely. But as always, I do want to at least provide a playthrough so you can give yourself an idea on how to attack the albatross if you do have the balls to go for it. So I'm using the backbone. In this case, I'm playing max plus 10. If I would be playing with a wood club, I would be playing with the Guardian because of its backspin. And then I would be playing that one true club distance, or whatever distance I would be in between medium and maximum distance normally, plus 10. And you can see that we're missing with a good one green square to the left, which obviously is not ultimate, but at least it's an idea on how to attack it for an albatross. So if you do want to play conservative and your only focus is an eagle, basically the same as hole number 3, then we'll lay up on the very first fairway before all the water and the rough. And then from there, we're moving over to the right fairway on the top right, and we're using then our big dog, or we're using a cataclysm if we do have that one unlocked, because we do want to have a lot of curl. And then we're going to use somewhere between 4 to 6 bars of topspin, all the left spin we can, and all the left curl we can, and try to bounce ourselves over to be close to green. Even though that is a conservative way of playing, that's still a very difficult route to lock in the eagle. So you will see a lot of players making a birdie here, and there will be very few albatrosses. Hole number 6, we're gonna go down the right hand side, and here I'm using a power 1 ball. You don't really need anything else here. Obviously you can play with more of the finer balls if we would like to do with that, but I think as the Waterfield Sands doesn't really allow us to play with more of the lower level balls, I think this is a very welcome surprise here on hole number 6. Max plus 10. And once again, the goal is to get the ball as far down the fairway possible here. Now you can see I'm going a little bit shorter than intended, but that's actually not a bad idea that either. Because now the second shot, we're going to be able to play our sniper. We're going to be very close to minimum distance, but it's going to be somewhere between minimum and medium distance always. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use this little line that you can find in the rough. That is where the blue ring is now approximately. So I'm going to be left of that and use right spin and get the ball to bounce in the rough and roll up to the green. And the reason I'm going to do that with a rough bump here is because it doesn't really allow me to go with backspin on the beginning of the green. It will be very difficult to get any consistency with that. 10% elevation, true club distance, and number. A perfect ball it is. And it's going to bounce into the rough, roll up the green. And we're so close, just being a little bit under adjusted on this shot. Hole 6, in my opinion, offers a good chance for an eagle. On Waterfield Sands, hole number 7. This is a par 3 which looks really weird, but it's actually not as difficult as it looks. And the reason for that is that playing on the right side or the left side, the fairway is somewhat sloped a little, which will push the ball towards the pin. It's going to be, however, a very difficult one to get the correct speed. But once you have found the correct speed, it's going to be a good chance for an hole-in-one. Here I'm playing from the min line, and I want to play with minimum distance with a 20% over adjustment, all the side spin that I can, and also a little bit of top spin. Outside wall left curl, which, yeah, the curl will be so dependent on what wind direction we do have off tee. Because the curl here is, if we cannot use a side spin 4 or a side spin 5 ball, the curl is going to be a necessary part on every wind direction we have when it comes to playing from the front tee on hole number 7. So the outside wall curl is a little bit too much, but you can see that the speed was good. Now it's only to correct the curl by using a little bit less, and then we do have a good chance for an hole-in-one. Hole number 7 opens up for many different possibilities. If you do have superior clubs, now I'm talking about Apocalypse level 5+, where you do have the 240 yard power and have the possibility to play with a power 5 ball. You can actually reach to green here fairly easy if you do have a tailwind by going, you can see they're going more right and going over all the rough, bouncing on the fairway, over the water and onto the green. So, but if you do have intermediate clubs or just low level clubs, then this is the better way of playing it, because then you won't really take any risks, because you will take a big risk if you having bad clubs and trying to get over the water, then you definitely risk going into the water, and then what's the point? So we lay up nicely. I'm playing with a Titan ball here to make sure that I can play over the rough patch in a crosswind without giving myself any risk of needing to use overpower. On the second shot here on hole number 7, we are using the sniper, and you can see there that we're close to minimum distance. And as we're having a tailwind, make sure to not end up with your aim point too close to the min line, because then you will pull into long iron, and what's going to happen there is that it's going to be a complete mess. No spin whatsoever, leaving the ball guideline just slightly short is to compensate for the extended ball guideline we will have when we do have a tailwind. Even though it's not a big tailwind, it will still be enough for the ball to roll too fast if we aim directly at the hole. Center the ball, hit perfect, and we will be seeing ourselves having a good chance here on hole number 7. When the camera turns around like that, it most definitely will be close dead center, and I will take it for the eagle. On hole number 8, we are going to play with our sniper, and we're gonna play into this little sticky spot there that is on the very left hand side. You can see here that I'm looking around a little bit to try to find the sticky spot, but I would say in this instance we are needed to be a little bit more left than intended. So in the end I'm sticking to using the 2 right spin and a little bit of backspin to get the ball guideline through the hole with my sniper. Adjustment here now is going to be medium distance with a 20% over adjustment. Center the ball and hit perfect, and you will have a good chance of dropping this one for an hole-in-one. The good part with the par 3s in general is that it opens up for rough bumps. A rough bump is by far the easiest way of dropping an hole-in-one, and especially on the Wiseacre with a flat green and a flat fairway before that, it makes it even easier in my opinion. Nice little hole-in-one on hole number 8. On the drive here on hole number 9, we do recommend to play with a club that do have a lot of topspin. The big topper is my favorite in those type of situations, because we don't really need much power here, because we can't really go over the rough and the sand with headwind there on the right side anyway. So I'm using all the topspin that I can on my big topper and making an adjustment of maximum distance +10, half a ball of right curl, and doing my very best to get this ball to the roll as far as possible. See, we bounce on the fairway nicely, we're getting it down, and now we do have a situation where we're just going to lock in the eagle. For hole number 9, we are just going to play ourselves up towards the green, or to be just close to green to just lock in the eagle. I do not see any point of pushing too hard here, because what's gonna happen then, that is that you do risk to go into the rough or into the sand, and then we're all gonna be sad about that, because that could potentially cost us getting the eagle. This is a tough par 5, don't think anything else. So going away with an eagle here is definitely not something that everyone will be doing. So we're bouncing on the fairway, getting the ball up towards the green, and now you see here now we do have a putt for an eagle. Sure, if we have a little luck and make the correct call, we might give ourselves a situation where we drop an albatross, but that's going to be very rare. Hole number 8 offers a good chance for an eagle, in my opinion. It's still a tricky par 4, so it's not something that comes for free. Play with a power 3 ball here, so we can reach in an easier way to the fairway island on the right. If you do have a headwind, it's going to require you go with overpower, or if you play with a power 4 or power 5 ball, that won't be anything that is necessary. Couple of topspin bars to right spin, and I'm going to make an adjustment of maximum distance with a 20% over adjustment here. Center the ball and hit perfect. The goal is to bounce on the fairway over the rough, but to stay before the second rough line. Bounce on the fairway over the rough, and it lands nicely, and we are in perfect position for the second shot. Second shot, we play with a long iron from a distance. Even though this shot looked like uphill, I would rather see us playing it with a 10% downhill elevation. The reason for that is that we want to use that extra elevation to cater to the wind push that we're going to have, which is pretty severe on this par 4. Leave the ball guideline short of pin if you do not have a fully developed ball guideline. Here, obviously, playing with a Grizzly level 7 or better is going to be a major advantage, because you do then have 4.5 ball guideline. True club distance, so it's going to be somewhere between medium and maximum distance of your club with a 10% elevation. Hit perfect, and you're going to have a good chance for a drop. Bounces nicely on the fairway up towards the pin, and we're getting it there. Nah, not really dead center, but it's still a drop, and that's all that counts. On hole number 9, now our focus should be to get over the fairway on the left. You can either use a club with a lot of power and bounce to the very far end of the fairway, which will then allow you to play with a long iron towards the pin, or that you do lay up shorter, and then you will see yourself having a wood club towards the pin. It's somewhat up to you to decide which way you want to go, but I would say if you do have a headwind, I would consider to lay up the shorter way, because that will require the least amount of technical stuff regarding the drive. But if we do have a tailwind or a crosswind, I would recommend to bounce over the rough patch there and land it on the fairway on the top there, and give yourself an easier chance for an albatross. Because if you are looking at the other par 5s of the Waterfield sands, you will notice that this hole plays insane, like an insane amount more easier than the other two. So the albatross here is most definitely in play. If you do lay up short, then we do have a sniper towards the pin. And here, obviously, the higher level you have on your sniper, the more power you have, which is going to be better. Headwind needs to have the ball guideline through the hole a decent amount. And the reason for that is obviously otherwise we will fall short, which I unfortunately will do in the video. What also needs to be said about this is that if you come in too hot, there is a risk that you do roll further down the green, and if you do that, you could put yourself in a position where you do have an impossible putt, as we used to call it, which means that even if you go max overpower, you will still not reach. Adjustment 10% elevation, true club distance. So in this instance, I'm playing max numbers, but in the video, I'm not playing 10%. I'm playing this one 0%, which is the reason why I'm coming short. And you can see here now that there's two things. We are not adjusting properly, but also we're not having the ball guideline through the hole enough to allow the ball to roll towards the pin. So again, this par 5 offers different ways of attacking the pin, at least by explanation. So either a long iron or a wood club. And the only thing to have in mind, though, if we go back to the drive, not the only thing, but one of the things to have in mind is to make sure to play with a driver that gives you enough power. It's a little bit too hefty of me to go with a quarterback which do not really have that much power, even though it has a good accuracy and a good ball guideline. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching this general playthrough for Rookie Division for the WM Phoenix Open 18-hole Cup. 18 holes, which includes 9 holes of the Waterfield Sands and 9 holes of the Wiseacre Ranch. Have in mind that you will have different wins when you do play in the tournament. If you're looking to improve your game even more, we do have general text guides for you all at patreon.com/golfclashtommy. Scan the QR code here on the screen or use the link patreon.com/golfclashtommy that is in the description down below. Sign up to our starter pack and get access to our general text guides to give you an idea on what elevation, how to attack the courses in the Phoenix Open.